Good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. Rebecca, would you please call the roll?
Flournoy.
Here.
Hallie.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Thank you. Council, any additions to this evening's agenda? If not, we'll move to our consent agenda where we have approval of minutes from the October 14th council meeting, the October 18th special payroll of $5,588. The approval for the October 18th payroll of $120,932.06. Approval of the USDA Step 1 debt in the amount of $12,975. Approval of the CoBank interim financing debt in the amount of $46,151.45. We have approval of the September finance report, acceptance of the Beautification Commission minutes, acceptance of library board minutes, and approval of liquor license for Isla and La Hacienda. We have approval of claims in the amount of $185,190.69. Any questions regarding those consent agenda items, Council? If not, I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Gandy, second by Thompson. Please call the roll.
Gandy.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes, with the exception of October 14th minutes.
Okay. Rasmussen.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, Council, we have resolutions, action items, and ordinances. The first is the tax abatement application for 1106 East Fillmore Avenue for the Plums. And I'm just opening it up here to get the... But I know there is a new home. The valuation is $230,000. The actual estimated cost for improvement is $267,000. This would be a residential tax abatement, so it has the limit of to $75,000, but we're entertaining a motion to approve the residential tax abatement for Plums.
So moved. Oh,
Moved by Flournoy and second by Anderson. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Next, we have a consideration of parking restriction on Madison Avenue. I'll ask Councilman Hallie from Public Safety to tell us about the discussion on this item.
Sure. So we discussed this last meeting. If you look down, the meeting minutes are under committee and board reports. That's for the meeting we had prior to this council meeting, or prior to last council meeting. So we been in communication with the school district, and they were having issues with the pickup and drop off on Madison Avenue at Washington School. They want the cars to form a queue driving west on Madison, but a lot of cars, a lot of drivers or parents will park on either side of the street, really creating a bottleneck there. So the proposal is to restrict parking only during the times of 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. only while school is in session. And that'll be on the north side of Madison from D Street down to E Street, and the south side of Madison from D Street all the way down to Hillside Drive. So again, it matches the times of the restricted parking that the council authorized on D Street to kind of solve a similar issue. So we've got the resolution all written up, and I will make the motion to approve it.
Okay. Moved by Hallie to approve the parking restrictions on Madison in the areas and times that are indicated on the resolution.
Second.
Second by Flournoy. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, the same sign. Okay. Thank you. Next, we have consideration of agreement for a bridge report with Calhoun Burns. Melanie, if you could tell us what we're looking at here.
So this agreement is for $2,000 with Calhoun Burns and Associates. They do our bridge inspections, but this agreement is to develop a detailed cost estimate for the bridge over Crow Creek. This particular bridge, this is the bridge near Chautauqua Park on Burlington. It also has the trail going underneath it. The bridge is on the border between the city and the county, and we do hope to come to some sort of agreement for the construction costs with the county. However, we're starting budgeting time, so we would like to get this cost estimate developed. So as we go, both us and the county go into budgeting time, we know what potential costs could be. The city is eligible for 80% funding, and so this cost estimate will also be used for that grant application in October of next year.
Thank you, Melanie. Can you tell us what's expected in terms of the work or replacement or repair?
So it would be a full replacement.
Full replacement. Okay.
It will likely need to be raised a little bit because right now it would create backwater flooding. The trail and any work associated with the trail is eligible for that 80% funding, so we would be able to lengthen the bridge a little bit and provide better clearance between the trail and the bridge than what there's now. You know, right now it's kind of tight and close to the edge. We'll be able to resolve all that, and that would all be eligible for the funding. The kind of broad brush estimate is around $1 million for that replacement. And so, like I said, the city would be eligible for 80% funding. The last grant application cycle, the city would have been awarded funds. They base it on points. And I want to say the lowest points that they awarded to was like 21, and this bridge actually scores a 25. So had we had an application in last cycle, we would have received the funds, which is another reason for kind of pushing this forward going into this budget season.
So is that federal or state money?
I don't know the answer to that question.
We pay 20% and they pay 80%.
Correct.
And Melanie, just to clarify, the county is not eligible for that 80% match, right?
Correct. They are eligible for 50% funding, which is, again, why we're kind of heading this up. But we do hope to come to some sort of an agreement with the county.
Move approval.
Okay, moved by Flournoy to approve the agreement with Calhoun Burns for the bridge report.
Second.
Second by Anderson. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you, Melanie. Next, council, we have a site lease agreement with Natel, and I'll ask Councilman Flournoy from the Public Safety Committee.
All right, this
I'm
is
sorry,
a
from the Franchise Committee.
franchise agreement or license agreement with Natel to lease space on the water tower on B Street for a period of 10 years with a renewal at that point for every 5 years. They'll put up there a internet radio and antenna, and they'll also require some power from the city. And the fee agreement is $300 a month with a $15 per month increase per year after that for the first 10 years. And they're responsible for the insurance, and they can't transfer the agreement. So, pretty standard.
Okay, thank you. And my understanding is that this equipment now resides on the radio tower by the courthouse, and that will be deconstructed and no longer available. So, yes.
Impetus to
Right. So this service is
been in place a long time.
right.
Quick question, does the lease payment, is that to cover the electricity cost as well?
Yes, someone estimated that it'd be maybe $10 a month.
All right, pretty nominal.
Real low power.
Okay. Any other questions, council? Doug, did you make a motion?
Oh, I'm
to
sorry,
approve
the
that?
committee voted to, recommended to the council, yes.
Okay, so motion by Flournoy to enter into the lease agreement with Natel.
Second.
Second by Thompson. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. And it looks like we went ahead and looked at a contract renewal with the other
Yes.
provider.
This same meeting tonight at
Let's
6:30, we also approved or recommended approval for a similar agreement with Lisco. The duration of that contract would be for 20 years. They would be using the other water tower only. I misspoke to you when I said both. It's just a single tower.
The Grimes
north of town,
one.
Grimes. And In exchange for that location, they'll provide broadband service to the city at City Hall and a fee of $250 per month with a 5% increase per year after that. And again, they're responsible for the insurance and that sort of thing. So it's very similar.
Okay.
The difference is they're providing internet service to the city, so they get a little break on the price.
Then will that be a motion to approve that as one approval?
Quick question, it does list both towers on. in
I know we had
number
to edit that out when we caught that when
Yeah,
when
you
we
called
had our
it,
meeting. And that's I'm sorry.
two. So you're gonna amend that?
Yeah, we amended it already during the meeting, so I'm sorry. The original agreement that was sent out to everybody had 2 water towers listed, but it's only the 1 water tower on Grimes. The B Street location has been edited out by the committee, so we're not recommending that.
And they're already on it, they've been on there for years as well.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion motion and a second?
Yeah,
Okay.
but the second is, the motion is for the contract as amended, right?
As amended, yes.
Yes. And that's what I
Thanks,
will
Tom.
second that.
Okay. Second by Thompson. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. So we'll move on to a letter of support for Highway 1 South project. And Melanie, we had a nice presentation at our last meeting, so I think everybody's up to speed on what is being proposed. And this is a step 2.
Yes, so our next steps in this project is to submit the information that was discussed at last Monday's meeting, including the traffic study and the schematic design. With that submittal, we would like to have a letter of support from the city. The DOT has the ultimate say on what happens at the intersection, but engineering recommendations and city support do go a long way in that decision. I wanted to note that the letter that you're supporting for tonight is approving the concept, not the actual layout. You'll see in the public comments that there is concern from one of the adjacent property owners on the layout. Well, in fact, their comment says that they're not in favor of the current layout. And in looking at it and talking with the engineers, there is room for modification based on that comment. There's going to be land needs regardless of what intersection type, regardless of how the intersection is arranged. But we think that we can make some modifications to lessen the impact a little bit. There's going to be give and take from, have to be discussed with both parties. But just so you know, we're recommending the concept, not the actual layout at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Melanie. And looks like is there anyone here from neighborhood builders and developers who had written the one objection to it? I just thought if they wanted to talk a little bit about what their concern was. So, Council, you would then be approving the letter of support for the project and the public comments to accompany.
Move to approve.
Moved by Rasmussen,
Second.
second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Don't go anywhere, Melanie. I don't think.
Oh, no, Steve Hedrick has this one.
Okay, all right. The next council, we have an order construction for public improvements as described in the Public Sanitary Sewer Conveyance Improvement Step 2, and this will be essentially fixing hearing dates and taking bids for approval in our December meeting. Stephen, good evening.
Hi. Yes, I guess I don't have a whole lot to update you with other than this is kind of the first step in the formal process of going out for bids for Step 2 sewer project. You can see on the agenda there kind of how the schedule is outlined. There would be a public hearing at your November 12th council meeting with bids due November 26th, which is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Then in a perfect world, we'll send those bids to rural development. They'll review them and you'll be able to approve the low bidder on December 16th at your council meeting. So if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. We'll have more information when on the November 12th meeting when we actually have the public hearing. So.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions for Stephen at this point? Okay, if not, then entertain a motion to approve the resolution, which would then set a public hearing for Tuesday, November 12th to consider the step 2.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Anderson, second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you. Next, Council, we have second reading of the ordinance to establish tax exemption for the speculative shell building. This will be the second reading. I think we had a successful opening of the building last week. Josh, you were happy? Josh was happy? So any questions regarding this or any feedback council has received? Okay. I'll open up the public hearing and ask if there are any public comments for or against. Now we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve from the second to the third reading.
So moved.
Moved by Flournoy.
Second.
Second by Rasmussen. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign? Okay. Thank you. Council, traditionally we set one meeting for December. The Monday in the middle of the month is December 16th, so I'd entertain a motion to set that date for our lone council meeting in December.
So moved.
Moved by Gandy,
Second.
second by Toohill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign? Do that next. Okay. I would just mention that it was a really wonderful day this past Friday when the speculative building was opened. The ribbon was cut there. I think the building finished out very nicely. And when you put it into the perspective of the development that's going on down there, the work that the Iowa Department of Transportation has done in building some of their new buildings, of course, our sewage treatment plant and the work that's ongoing there, not necessarily in sight, but just along the road, the finishing of the road this past summer in that building. It's really a significant new area of our city that's been opened up. And then there is more acreage because this is not just a building site, but it is also an additional industrial park. So a great morning there. And then later in the afternoon, there was an event that the governor of Iowa attended, Governor Reynolds, and also Iowa Economic Development Authority Director Debbie Durham. They were both down here to inaugurate the agro-industrial plastics solar project, 517 kilowatt array, largest rooftop array in the state of Iowa, and the only one that's served by a Tesla battery system. There is information that's being gathered to be analyzed and researched for efficacy. It's also a way to promote to other industries how to utilize the solar technology. This originated out of a company that began here in Fairfield. We have shown leadership in that area, and it was nice just to have that on display for the governor and Director Durham on Friday. So it was a great day on Friday for that. Move down to our committee reports, Public Safety and Transportation Committee.
Well, those are just the minutes from our meeting before last council meeting.
Okay. Next, the Environmental Franchise Utilities. Anything beyond what we
No
did
further
tonight?
business besides the two contracts that we already talked about.
Okay. All right. And then welcome an ambulance board report.
Thank you,
Councilman Gandy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the ambulance board consists of members from the city council, the county, and the Jefferson County Health Center. We have been meeting diligently, faithfully since early 2018 in anticipation of the expiration of our contract with Midwest Ambulance Service, a private ambulance service provider, looking at different options for having an ambulance service for our area when that contract expires. We've been considering several options, including a possible collaboration or joint venture with Henry County, including perhaps a city-managed or led ambulance service, perhaps working with our fire department, including perhaps continuing on with a private service provider as we have now. There was quite a bit of optimism over the last year in our discussions with Henry County with a possible collaboration or joint venture with that county. We're less enthusiastic about that possibility because of various things that have happened in terms of our discussions, particularly with Henry County. So we're proceeding with just exploring other options, including the ones I just mentioned. The board voted and has asked that the city proceed with further exploration of a possible city-managed or city-led ambulance service. And our city administrator, Aaron Koiker, has agreed to lead that research and review of that possible option. We understand that we have until the end of September of next year to put in place an ambulance service to replace what we have now. So we'll be moving with caution, but with speed to make sure we have a service in place in a timely fashion.
Paul, there was a feasibility study. Was there a final report published, and can we see that?
There was a final report published, and I think it's public, and we can certainly make it available to the council. And
Can you say anything more about what you didn't like about the suggested elements of that report? Because it had so much promise when we
It did, and we
discussed it.
It's true. There was certain information, data, that because of our current, I can say because of our current agreement with our provider, Midwest Ambulance Service, there's certain information that we couldn't get that would have allowed us to have a more complete report. So our committee, the ambulance board, was a little concerned that the lack of information in terms of the success or lack thereof or viability of a joint program was dependent upon information that we didn't have access to. So while we're still having discussions with Henry County, it's just not, we don't have enough information to determine whether or not it'd be financially feasible. That's from Jefferson County side. From Henry County side, we understand that the city of Mount Pleasant, the county, and the Henry County Health Center, they're not as together or on board together with the proposed joint venture as we thought they were in our preliminary discussions. There seemed to have been an understanding that they were going to be working together as a team, those three entities, and we've come to find out over our discussions that they aren't really. Henry County Health Center, as I understand it, plans to separate itself. Now they're managing the ambulance service for Henry County, but they plan to separate themselves from the ambulance service for Henry County. Their board has voted to jettison the ambulance service for Henry County from the hospital in June of next year. So what they're going to do with the ambulance service, we're not sure. We don't know that it's going to work out where we're going to be able to work together. I mean, at least not for now. There is discussion that perhaps in years ahead there could be a collaboration, but for now, we've got our deadline of September 20th where we have to have an ambulance service in place, and so we're proceeding with looking at other options. We have we've had a request for proposal, an RFP that we're about to finalize and send out beginning of this month, beginning of next month, November. So we're going to be hopefully getting some suggestions or proposals from possible private providers. We're also looking at possibly a public-private partnership, and the city. The board has asked the city to look into the possibility of some sort of managed service with the city leading that service. So we're looking at all the different options that we spoke about. The collaboration with Henry County, the joint venture, is not as promising as it once was. So we're proceeding as we had been discussing in any case back in 2018.
Okay. Thank you for your report, Council. Any questions? Thank you. And then we'll move to our department reports, and we have a library annual report this evening. Rebecca Johnson.
So it's my honor to report on the library's 165th year
Wow.
of service. Please turn to the page that says General Fund at the top. This was a challenging year to keep the budget balanced because if you look About 3/4 of the way down, under services and commodities, you'll see the figure $59,827, representing the amount of money that we had to put into building maintenance and repair, chiefly because our HVAC system, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, was quite old and having a lot of problems. We also spent more on utilities than we had anticipated, and so we actually came through with $150 still left on the table, so I felt like that was an amazing thing that we managed to pull that off. If you turn to the Memorial Fund, the Memorial Fund is primarily used to purchase library materials, and you see that we received grants from the library's foundation totaling $33,167, representing the lion's share of the cost of library materials. In addition, we had interest income from our old library endowment fund in the amount of $8,323. And we spent a total of $45,017 on library materials. So that was the main activity there. Turning the page to the book sale fund. This fund originated in March of 2016 after Friends of the Library dissolved, and trustees approved the use of book sale revenue for expenditures that had been covered by Friends in the past, such as library programs and events, and some equipment. When you look under disbursements, we purchased a refurbished EcoMaster disc repair machine this year using money from the book sale fund. We had a lot of complaints from patrons that the discs were skipping and pixelating, movies were pixelating, and those complaints are no more. So we went through and repaired thousands and thousands of discs, and we're still working on it. We've completed DVDs, Blu-ray. We've been able to do a lot of the children's discs as well, and we've been working on audiobooks. Turning to the capital fund, really nothing happening there. That used to be known as the building fund when the library was first constructed in 1996. And going on to the library endowment fund, this originated in 1955 with donations from private citizens who wanted the income to be, they wanted the money to be invested permanently and the income used for purchasing library materials. So the interest income from the library endowment fund is generated by CDs at local banks. And that's the money that you see coming into the Memorial Fund that I mentioned earlier.
8,000.
Next page, cash reconciliation of all the independent library funds. You see the 4 funds I just listed and the details on the right, how they're invested. And so we have CDs at First National Bank, Pilot Grove Savings Bank, and Iowa State Bank. And then at the bottom, the rental house summary. We do have a balance of about $10,000 as of June 30, and that will probably go into some renovation on that house. Turning the page to library collections. We aim to practice steady state collection development so that when we withdraw materials, we add new materials, we also withdraw old things, and we need to do some more weeding this year. Last page, this is where the rubber meets the road, where you look at usage. And middle of the page under programs, we offered quite a few more programs this year. We've emphasized adult programs much more than we did in the past. Down toward the bottom where you see all ages combined, you're seeing an uptick in the use of downloadable audiobooks and ebooks, and also database usage has gone up. And down at the very bottom under internet sessions, thanks to Natel, we are now able to track Wi-Fi and get the statistics from our wireless internet. And so you see a huge jump there because we didn't really have those things included in the past. So that's a quick romp through the annual report. Any questions?
Thank you, Rebecca. Any, let's see, county participation has been consistent?
Yes. If you look at the general fund page, middle of the top, you'll see Library Services Jefferson County, and they're funding to the tune of $67,500.
Okay. Generally, when you approach them, do you ask for the same amount, or do you have increases?
I
that you
always
try?
request increases,
Okay.
and they don't, for some reason, they don't happen.
That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
Do you keep track of separate statistics for Fairfield residents versus county residents?
Yes.
So are those numbers about the same in terms of proportion? My point is that they should be paying in proportion to how many people are using the library services.
Right. So if you look at the very last page, you can see borrower accounts. Borrower accounts.
I see it.
And so Fairfield is the largest group. And then you have rural county adults and juvenile, and they're a smaller group. And we are contracted with Libertyville, Lockridge, Packwood, Pleasant Plain, and Marishi Vedic City.
The town contracts, right?
Right. And those are official contracts now, so they sign for 3 years at a time.
Okay.
And those
Very
are
good.
who-
And we're familiar with your challenges in the building. Anything outside of HVAC and boiler that you're concerned about?
At our last library board meeting, trustees said they would really like to have someone do a walkthrough with them, who could really look at it from a professional point of view. I know about some little things here and there, and of course the carpet is original to the building, but we need to develop a good capital improvements plan. And I think what the trustees are saying is they'd like to have a pro do the walkthrough with them.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be wise.
Yeah.
Good. Council, any questions for Rebecca on her report? I know we're always very proud of our library, the building, and the service that it provides, and thank you so much for providing that for us.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion, council, to accept the annual report by the library.
So moved.
Moved by Anderson. Second by Flournoy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have a project update. Melanie.
Well, I'd like to say that we have a lot of work that we're gonna get done before the snow flies, but we're already too late. Several projects came off of this list with us closing out step one at the last meeting. Other projects that we're looking or getting close to finishing up is the Libertyville Road Sanitary Sewer project. They're in the last stages of that. They will be doing a dormant seating on that project, so there may be touch-ups still needed in the spring, but all of the construction work will be done in 2019. Since the last update I gave you, Stone Avenue water main replacement has begun. They're progressing really nicely and will likely be done before my next report. They're almost halfway through already, and they started 2 weeks ago. So going really well on that project. And then the other project that has been completed is the Washington Avenue storm sewer. This was done with City Crews. Took them a couple weeks to replace a block and a half of storm sewer there, but that is finished up. The rest of the projects on the list are more projects that are in design, with the exception of the wastewater treatment plant. But we are looking at wrapping some things up for the year and then getting ready for next construction season. Any questions?
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
Appreciate your report. Okay, council, our final business. I'm acutely aware that every once in a while, November 11th falls on a Monday, so the default is the 12th, my birthday, but I still come to the meetings. So this year, again, our next meeting will be on Tuesday, November 12th, so entertain a motion to, well, we don't actually need a motion on that, just to remind you that we'll be meeting on the 12th. Any other business for the council? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Toohill, second by Rasmussen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.